Well, hey, kids, it's time for another thrilling episode of KWJUDAS.
It's a bore, it's a shame. Yeah, we're cycling through endless repetitions of Hollywood cinematic cliche. Drag the audience in with that same old again. The box office will win. Oh Lord, let's watch all of that money rolling. It's a bore, it's a shame. Look, it's Pacino and De Niro having sex and making violence again.
That was Miss Massive Snowflake, who has returned to our studio, KWJUDAS on Free Radio Provo. That song was called Goldsworthy. And we don't usually have a guest back this soon. If you didn't catch the episode, he was here, or actually not here. We did it over the phone, and once again, we're doing it over the phone since we figured out how to do that here on KWJUDAS. So anyways, we had him, it was about episode 126. If you missed it, then you can go back and check out episode 126, and we got talking about a venue that this guy runs, and some kind of supernatural stuff going on there. And I guess we didn't know as much about it as we do now. He just randomly leaves me a voicemail saying, hey, I just found out a lot more about this place. And then he texts me some more shit, and I'm just like, oh, dude, we should have you back on. Because I don't want to ask too many questions and and waste them.
Yeah, it was just real. It was just kind of such a... you hit me up, you're like, oh, we like to talk about this stuff. And I was like, oh, as I mentioned in the last one, there's a spot in Kirk's Grocery here in Billings, Montana, that multiple people, me included, have just had cold shivers and felt really freaked out at certain times of day. Right. And anyways, so that conversation with you was like a month ago, 3 weeks ago, I think. So yeah, I've been in this building for 4 years, and no one's really come in and told me much history or nothing interesting like that in that vein.
The whole time you've been there.
The whole time I've been there, nothing in that vein. People come in and be like, I remember processing vegetables in the basement in 1943 with my father. Right. I've had people come in and tell me that kind of stuff.
Right.
But so we had talked about like supernatural stuff, weird stuff. I'm telling you about all that. And then I'm just sitting, so a week ago, like 2 weeks after that conversation, I'm just sitting in Kirk's. We're open. No, we weren't open. I can hear my landlord and my neighbor, this guy, Roger Pinnock, who's great. He's talking to somebody out front, and I have my door open because it's very hot. We don't have AC, so I got like fans pulling in cold air in the morning. It was maybe 10 in the morning. And I'm like, oh, please don't want to come in here. I'm working, but I have to have my door open, and I'm doing stuff, and people always want to be like, what's going on in here? What is this place?
Oh, so just to back up a little bit for the listeners, if you haven't listened to the previous episode, Kirk's Grocery is a venue that this guy has been running for how long? 4 years?
4 years. Next September, it'll be 4 years.
And the building itself is close to 100 years old.
It's 1913 is what they say. Yeah, so over 100 years old.
Wow. And so, yeah, he has done what, well, almost every metalhead or punk rocker's dream is.
Yeah.
You'd be lying if you said you'd never taken a look at a creepy old abandoned building and said, that would make a killer fucking venue.
Yeah,
this guy did it. He did it. And so they still kept the name Kirk's Grocery because it was still on the building. And he was telling us about this place. The one thing that you did say, some guy came over and he knew exactly where to find a tarot deck.
Oh, yeah. Somehow. Yeah, we were talking. That was just, he opened the back door, just walked over, grabbed it, opened it up, pulled that out, and then we saw the painting. Yeah, that was an interesting night. The painting I thought was staring, was
watching you or something.
Yeah, and I was like, we're out of here, bro. Like, this is too many strange things in a couple minutes.
Okay, so now that we've kind of caught people up from the last episode, just kind of know what this place is and what this is about, and what we know about it so far. So, anyways, you were standing there, or you were hanging out, and the door
just
was
working
open.
On my computer. Door was open. I hear someone talking. I was like, okay, Roger's out there. I can hear. Oh yeah, it's an art gallery. Yeah, he has live music. And I was like, oh, this person's gonna come in here and want to talk.
Right.
So I stand up and I'm kind of like, hey man, we're closed. We're open Thursdays, and I tell him the hours. And this guy just has like this ecstatic look on his face. And he kind of looks like a bodybuilder Marine guy in his maybe 40s or 50s. So, cut and taken care of. But, whatever, this guy. And he's like, oh, my God, do you know the history of this building? And I was like, I've been told some stuff. I don't know a lot about the history of this building. He's like, so... this is the beginning of Billings. This is the first street of Billings. These 3 blocks right here are the first buildings that starting in Billings, and I think like 1870 or something like that. So this 3 blocks of Billings that I'm on, which is now the very edge of downtown. It's the very It's the very last block that's considered downtown before you kind of just go into neighborhoods.
Right.
And he's all excited, and he's like, oh, original tin roofs. And he's like, well, you know, this whole block used to all be Chinese laundries. This used to be a Chinese laundry. And I was like, no. And he's like, do you know about the murder? And I was like, I don't know about the murder. And he's like, let me show you. And he just walks past me. And he's like, I haven't been in here in like 15, 20 years. This is what he's been in Kirk's Grocery before, but he hasn't been back in like 15 or 20 years. And he's like, I'm so happy you're open. And then we walked to this exact spot where me and at least 10 other people have just had cold shakes, weird, feelings. And he's just like, yeah, she was murdered here in 1913. And he's just like right at the exact spot, like everybody feels it. And I'm just like, whoa. And so I tell him, like, everybody, or I'm like, people that are here alone or people that are here without much distraction, without things happening, a lot of times they'll come right here and just be like, dude, that's a freaky spot. And so he just was like, oh, yeah. And he's like, and look, it's the original floors because it's still the original floors. It's like, these original old wood, thick, like probably half-inch thick board floors. And he just starts telling me more about the block. That was kind of the only like super clutch part about Kirk's itself. He was like, this woman got murdered here in 1913 when it was a Chinese laundry. And then he kind of went back out, and he was just kind of marveling at the building itself. Like, oh, it's like the original tin ceilings. And so then we kind of go out on the corner. We walk out the front again. And he's like, yeah, this was all Chinese laundries. And he's like, well, right there where that building is, he points to like the very corner building, and he was like, that was a pig slaughterhouse. And he was like, and it was run by Chinese people, and they would, you could murder people and then feed them to the pigs there. He was like, and then he's like, I'm looking at him, I'm sure, like all crazy, like, what, bro? Like, I never heard any of this. I grew up in this town, and I knew that this was like a Chinatown area, but I have never heard that kind of stuff before. And he was like, it's documented in multiple books. He was all like serious, like total. He was such a historian about the whole aspect of everything of it, He was just like, but yeah, and he was like, and they fed them there, and then he just kind of pointed out some other stuff. And then, so my really close friend Jason Jam shows up the next day, and I'm like telling him all about it. And he's like, well, did he tell you about the double axe murder right across the street that happened right there? And he just points across the street to now, which is just like this big brick building. And he's like, yeah, dude, like right there used to be a barber shop where there was a double axe murder. It's in a bunch of books. I'm like, dude, that's what the guy said yesterday. Where are these books? So I guess I got to go like to the Billings Library and check out these books on my building. Yeah. But I've just been too busy. But I am definitely interested in it. But it's still a wild block. But I haven't noticed any murders.
Yeah, well,
people drinking hand sanitizer and passing out, but
God. like to get drunk.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, rough.
God. Worst I've ever done is Listerine, man, and
you strain it through your sock
in your mouth.
You wanted to know how to do it.
Sorry, what?
I said you strain it through your sock if you want to know how to do it.
Okay, I can get down now. All right, strain it through a dirty sock. All right. I mean, it's sanitizer, so like if the sock's dirty, it's gonna be clean.
It's cleaning it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So that was kind of I just found it amazing that like you had asked me those questions, and I'd only had those feelings, and then like literally 2 weeks later, this guy just comes in with big eyes and just starts laying knowledge on the block. And then Jason, like my good friend, who's like, you could have told me that any time in the last like 30 years I knew you, but
that's what I was going to say. How long has he known about this and known you and lived in this town?
It's it's a different building now. It's a big railroad building now. So It probably was, so why would you think of the deal? I don't know. But he knew about it. And he was like, oh yeah, dude, it was like right there, right across the street. I was like, whoa, okay.
That's nuts. Any idea about like what year, like what time about that axe murder would have happened?
I don't have any idea. I'm gonna get. You don't have to interview me again, but maybe on a further show you could update your listeners with. I will find that out because I do want to go to the library now and like be like, yo, what happened over on 29th in Minnesota, here in Billings, Montana, and find out some info. It's just had family in town pretty much since I talked to you last. 2 weeks. They leave tomorrow.
Yeah, so you've been pretty busy. But if you do dig up some dirt, enough to bring back, then hell yeah, we'll have you on again.
The follow-up.
Because I'm into that shit, you know what I mean? And yeah, it's definitely got me interested, and I probably won't have a lot of time to dig up the dirt myself. So
yeah, no. I want to know what's happening on my block. I want to know.
Yeah, I totally would too. So
Yeah,
let's get into another song, shall we?
Yeah, sounds good. Just quick on that last one. That's the oldest one we've played in any of these radio shows we did. That's a song called Goldsworthy. I just love it. It's been a real hit. This band, as I talked about last time, has had multiple members. It's kind of been me and different people. There's a rotating cast of characters that tours with me and records with me. And this song, no matter who I play with, who's on drums, or the drummer's always like, yo, let's play that song. That song's really fun. People really love it. So it's stuck in our set. It's like almost a decade old. It's over a decade old, and I still play it. And like on this last tour, we were ending with it. It was kind of the closer. So it's just, I find that song to be a really interesting one. We've never had a pop hit or anything like that, but that song has always stuck around. I think it's just got enough intrigue and interesting changes and stuff to like, I always want to play it, and people I play with always want to play it. Yeah, let's drop into another one.
Oh yeah, what do you want to get into next?
Let's go that Unakura, which so that just means the cure. So right. On that last or a cure, on that last interview we talked about, I was telling you that the latest album was about your favorite band being in love with bands and how much it is to see a band. Right. So this song here is a pretty interesting story because the guy who does the Italian poetry on it, it's going to be in Italian, this song, and it's kind of a poem. I was in a band called Rollerball. We talked about that a little bit last time. Yeah. And this in 2012 or so, I got an email from a Fabrizio Testa in Italy that said, hey man, when I was back in high school, I loved your band Rollerball so much when you guys would come tour Italy, and I always loved your voice, and I've made these songs. Would you sing on them? I've always enjoyed your voice. Wow. And it's just like a random email I get.
That is
and I hadn't even been in the band for like 5-6 years at this point. So he's talking about like, something that happened to him like 6 to 10 years prior or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, sure, man, send me the songs. So we did like this EP. He just kind of sent me guitar tracks, and I just wrote vocals and recorded them myself and sent them back. And then we actually toured Italy the next year in like 2013 or 14. We toured Italy together, just the two of us. And I really like his songs. I love his songs. He has a band called Il Lungo Addio, and it means the long goodbye.
Word.
And I just love his songs, but he sings in Italian, and he kind of at times reminds me of like a Calvin Johnson from like K or something. Like he writes these great songs, but like his voice is a little too deep and it's a little off key sometimes. And he sings in Italian, and I love his songs. I think he writes great songs. So I started covering his songs, like on the album. We have an album where I cover one of his songs. And then when it came to this song, I asked him if he would write a poem about how music, when he hears his favorite music, like how it makes him feel. I said, hey, would you write some lyrics or a poem? And so he loves that band Morphine, A Cure for Pain, which is an older record, which is a great album by this band Morphine, Mark Sandman. And so, yeah, the name of the song's called A Cure, but a lot of it references lyrics from Morphine's song, A Cure for Pain. But unless you know Italian, you won't know that.
So he wrote the poetry, and you wrote the rest of the song, or is this one of his songs as well that he wrote and you covered?
So I told him what I wanted. I wanted him to write poems, and then he recorded it. So the way the song was made is he sent me a 2-minute track of him doing these poems without any music, and I added the music afterwards. I didn't cut it up or sample it or anything. So it's pretty abstract. This song is not like a pop song or something. It's kind of like these loud guitars and him kind of talking over the top of it. I really like it though. It's a nice sound collage as well as I love his voice.
Well, hell yeah. Unakura here on KWJUDAS Free Radio Provo. Thank you all for listening tonight.
una cura per il dolore. È la mia cura per il dolore. Come il nuoto, come il nuoto. Una cura per il dolore. È la mia cura per il dolore. Una band che non ti farà mai andare in silenzio nella tua tomba. Yes, yes, yes. Una band super sex. Yes, yes, yes. Una band super sex. Patatine fritte e pepe. Per un amore libero. Una cura per il dolore. Una cura per il dolore. Una cura per il dolore. Una cura per il dolore nella notte. Nella notte. Una cura per il dolore. Nella notte. Nella notte.
Well, I'm not sure. You'd have to ask her, but I bet my kid will always remember. Hot coffee in December. And a mom driving fast, trying to get her to class after falling asleep in the bath. Yeah, with such good grades, you know, I hope you get paid. Happy to see you next week. When you were young, you just liked the sun and would have slept in the rain if you could. Well, I'm not sure. You'd have to ask her, but I bet my kid will always remember. Hot coffee in December. Hot coffee in December. Waking up with the window wide open. Flourishing greenery, overtaking everything in the yard. Last year's overflowered artichokes are melting after the wet season. In the upcoming undergrowth. Well, I'm not sure. You'd have to ask her, but I bet my kid will always remember. Hot coffee in December. Hot coffee in December. Though it's a
All right, that was Hot Coffee from Miss Massive Snowflake here on KWJUDAS on Free Radio Provo. Huzzah. Thank you so much for being on our program here. And one thing I have been curious, what's behind the name Miss Massive Snowflake?
You know, as time goes on, you try to remember. I've had a couple. I'll try to tell you as honestly and as truthfully as I can remember.
Here's another story, kids.
Yeah. So I was in a band, and then I started a recording project, and I did a Christmas, like a 4-song Christmas EP where I covered Last Christmas by George Michael, and I did a Prince song, Another Lonely Christmas, as well as 2 original songs that I recorded.
Christmas album? Where can we find that?
It's on my Bandcamp page. It's pretty raw. It's pretty raw.
Awesome.
Yeah, the very first Miss Massive Snowflake release is called Massive Snowflake, and It was just like it's a Christmas compilation I made to give to my friends and family for Christmas in like 2004 or 5. And I hand printed all the covers, but it was just called Massive Snowflake. But through doing that, I started. My daughter at that point was maybe like 8 years old or something like that. Yeah, 8 years old, and we started to record music together along with her friends, and that turned into these like fall and my mother-in-law, who was would sing with me. So there's like the first thing is called Massive Snowflake, and it's like a Christmas EP. That's followed by 2 more EPs that are all under like 12 minutes that are with like my daughter and my mother-in-law and my daughter's friends. And they're pretty cool, and it was kind of me learning how to record. Like, that's who was around my house. So that's who I was able to be like, hey, get on the mic. I made this like beat, and it was fun for kids. And then, my daughter, interesting, we talking about this, she did not want to be a performer. I always thought, how cool would it be to have a family band, like, where your daughter's on drums and your wife's on bass or singing or whatever, how cool would that be? And of course, you can't control anybody. So like, she's like, yeah, I don't want to be a performer. Once she heard her voice recorded, she kind of dropped out of the band.
Everybody freaks out the first time they hear themselves played back to them, and I think that people need to understand that's actually a very common thing.
Oh, yeah.
It's because you've never heard it before, and of course, like, everyone is weirded out when they first hear themselves being recorded and played back. You just kind of get used to it. Though.
It's hard to hear yourself sometimes. Like, I have cassette recordings of myself from like the early 80s, like hearing how insecure and young I am. I can't even listen to the tapes. I'm like, oh my God. It's like, I can just feel who I was back then. And it's like, I can't even listen to it because I can hear all the tension in my voice. And it's all like, You're like, oh my God. And
I still got some old recordings from when I was in a rap group, and that is embarrassing shit.
No, that's the best. My first group's a funk rock band, so.
That was my first real group, was a punk band called Belly Button Lint, and they were okay.
In Provo there?
Yeah, Provo Orem, a female-fronted punk group. We covered, like, No Doubt and Offspring, and we did a version of Jewel. Instead of Who Will Save Your Souls, it was No One Will Save Your Souls.
Yeah. Oh, you giving the truth.
It was P-Raff. Punk rock as fuck.
Hey, I'm going to grab this bottle opener and open this bottle. I'll be right back.
Oh, you do what you got to do. I'm going to open this bottle real quick. Indeed. So that still doesn't exactly explain the name Miss Massive Snowflake.
Oh, yeah, you're right. So
I mean, it kind of did.
So right when all this is going on, no, it doesn't. It didn't, because you got where Massive Snowflake came from. Because at that same point, I started North Pole Records. It was a whole concept. Like, the first EP set the tone. I still run North Pole Records. We just had our 52nd release come out, and but the very first one, which we labeled, which is number 0, so North Pole Records number 0 is Massive Snowflake, and it's a Christmas EP. Right. I don't think it has a name. And then after that, I was also a preschool teacher at this time. And this is like 2004, like I said. Wow. And, I was working with kids all the time, and, everything's so gendered. And I was like, back then, I was like, kids would be like, that's a girl's thing. And I would be like, what makes that a girl's thing? And I would just ask kids questions, like that. So then I just thought, I'll put Miss on the front because I'm just like this 6'6" guy who just like, I liked the alliteration of Miss Massive. I often toy with the idea of just changing the band name to Miss Mass because I just like that the alliteration of that. But we've done so much under this name, so many people, and I love it. I like the breadth of work we've created.
Right.
It's hard to just abandon it, because I don't know.
Right.
For a shorter band name,
I think it kind of creates an interesting, even kind of a visual. Like, what do you imagine in your head when you hear that alliteration, Miss Massive Snowflake?
Yeah.
I think of Missy Mr. Meteor Elliott.
That's good.
As a snowflake.
Oh, let's deconstruct it further. Okay, so now that you say that, so we got where Massive Snowflake came from. That was a concept of like a Christmas album. So I added Miss to fuck with gender and preschoolers' minds about like whatever.
Just to fuck with preschoolers.
But to get back to Massive Snowflake, the name Massive was stolen from Massive Attack because I love the name Massive Attack and I love that band.
Gotta love Massive Attack.
So I stole the word massive was actually, I took that directly. I was like, I'm going to use the word massive. And then I built the band name around the word massive. And Snowflake just happened to come up because I was like, oh, I made this Christmas thing. I'll just call it Massive Snowflake. And then it just, for whatever reason, and that was a recording project, and then it turned into a band, like with totally different members doing totally different things, but I just kept the band name. Just became like, not a persona, because it's just more of like an umbrella.
Right. So then how long has the band been, as a band since under that name?
Well, after those first 2 EPs, which were all recordings, the first album that came out is called Queen's Headache, which is actually a children's game. It's named after a preschool children's game, Queen's Headache. I loved it. It's a great game. I'm sorry, one more time with the question. I just spaced out. I'm so sorry. The name of the albums, we got to the name of the albums, we got to Queen's Headache, we got to Miss Massive Snowflake.
How long has it been since Miss Massive Snowflake, the official title, as a band?
2010 was the first band album, and that's called Songs About Music. Jeannie Kennedy joined in like 2009 and practiced with me. I was touring a lot.
She did.
With bass. So Jean Kennedy was in the
Word.
band from 2009 until 2021. Right. So she was in there until last year. She has a new project called Subvert Savant. But pretty much it's distance. She lives in Portland. We hadn't lived in the same town in more than a year. In more than a decade. We had been in different cities for more than a decade. So all we did was tour and record, and it just got really difficult.
And then I started playing with you?
Nope. We went through a host of drummers. But this guy Andy Brown, who's recorded all the albums starting with Like a Book, which would have been the one after. So the first album that was all band was Songs About Music, and that's in 2010.
Right.
And then in 2010, this guy Andy joins the band because Jeannie and I were actually playing as a duo again. And we met this guy Andy, who had been in this awesome band Jessamine, which was on this label Cranky back in the day. Great band. And he said he'd play drums with us, and then he's recorded all our albums since then. Even Your Favorite Band, we talked about him in the last interview. It's the same guy. And he joined in 2010, and he played drums with me on many tours. He didn't go on all the European tours. We had other drummers do that just because, life. But he's been real integral. But him and Jeannie were in the band, and he's still in the band. I don't know if Jeannie and I will play together again. It's not like I just don't know if we will. But Andy and I still collaborate for sure. He's still an important part of the band.
That's cool. So it's just you two then, you and Andy right now?
Oh, no, because it's like a collective. I'm kind of like the head so I said Jeannie and Andy quit last year, 2 years ago. Right. And then, so this whole year, the touring I did, I run this Kirk's Grocery. So there's this kid, Isaiah, who's been playing music at Kirk's Grocery. He has a band called Melted Nard Puke and another band called...
What the fuck? What kind of music is this?
It's noise music. It's noise. He just
figures.
He beats himself in the head. He's gotten really good at it, though. He understands like frequencies.
I love it.
Yeah, but now he's like 20.
Melted
He's
Nard
about to...
Puke.
His other band was the Scum Cucks. And then,
that's all right, but Melted Nard Puke, dude, give it up.
Yeah. I just saw him like 2 weeks ago. Last time we talked, we were about to have a music festival here in town called Dry Fest. We talked about it in the last one. I saw him perform at that. He played at Kirk's.
Word.
Double Marshall stack through like his phone going in through pedals. Like, it was awesome.
I love noise bands, dude. I used to run a venue too, and sure, it drives a lot of people out, but
the sheer creativity and balls to do it sometimes, I'm just like, yeah.
And there still is a crowd for it. Like, there is still a handful of kids that just stand around in awe and amazement and just let the noise just carry them away. And I enjoy doing that myself,
Yeah.
if it's the right kind of noise project and it's done well,
and that
some people don't see the music behind it, but I don't know.
And it's so encompassing of like, a lot of it now, it seems like modular synths, and it's great. I just love experimental music. I love people who step outside the norms, but I also love that mashed right up against the sweetest pop song ever, you know, so.
Right.
You know, I don't try to distinguish. I just try to take it all in, you know.
Yeah, we got a little noise scene, a little community of people that make just weird fucking shit here in Salt Lake and in Utah.
Oh,
And
I'm
so
sure you do.
I love the fact that there's enough people to keep stuff like that going, you know, and that appreciate it, even if it's a small crowd.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know?
Well, I'll say this, you know, I've said this year. So we never used to charge at all to come in because it was just kind of pre-COVID. It was donation only.
Right.
And after that, now we're like $10 in advance, 12 at the door.
Word.
Yeah, and I'm so spacey. My brain is shot.
Oh, dude, it's okay. It's the Sabbath.
Yeah,
We all just had a long day at church.
Yeah, I couldn't get out of it. I was there all day.
Damn. Yeah,
Sweating.
church will do that to you.
Anyways, I'm going to move on. I don't even know what I'm talking about.
That's good. We could just move on to another song. How about?
Yeah, let's do that.
We've got What a Wall.
Oh, yeah, great song.
So we're gonna
this song's about American flags, like what do flags mean? So the only lyrics in the whole song are Sheila had one on a string bikini. Joey got one on his new black beanie. I forget the people's names or different names in this. Peter wore one at the student protest, got his ass handed to him by a Vietnam vet, or burned one. Yeah. And then it's like, what do all these flags mean? And that's like all the lyrics. But when I sang it and I listen back, it sounds like I'm saying, what a wall flags mean. And then, you know, I wrote it during like the Trump years. So then it was like, to me, it referenced the wall, you know, like what a wall flags mean. And, it's just like sometimes, you know, you just see flags constantly, and I'm you know, whatever, you can like the flag. I'm just saying, like, it's like, why is there so many flags like everywhere, man? It's just weird sometimes, you know? I don't know. I know, but it's just weird. Like, they're everywhere, you know? Anyways.
People love their fucking country.
I know, but
don't
it's
tread
just
on
like,
this shit, bitch.
It's just like, you'll never forget where you are in America, man.
No, you shouldn't.
We might be totally lost, but you'll never forget. There's a flag to remind you.
Yeah, you're not going to get lost.
Yeah.
All right. This is What a Wall from Miss Massive Snowflake. Thank you all for being with us tonight. KWJUDAS Free Radio Provo.
KWJUDAS.
These
on KWJUDAS Free Radio Provo. We're coming to the end of our show, and you had a record label that you wanted to discuss a little bit before we move into our word from our sponsor, Derp and Schlee, and our final number. What was the name of that record label of yours?
Oh, it's North Pole Records, and it's we
Indeed.
talked about it just a little bit ago. It was number 0 was the first, was Massive Snowflake.
Yeah.
Massive Snowflake, and we just have been releasing like 49 through 52 are like singles, and then we're about to have the new album come out by this band Laura Hickley and this other band 36, and they're both from Canada, and they used to come through Kirk's Grocery and play shows all the time. And we've been doing this record, and it's a split LP with 36 on one side and Laura Hickley on the other, and it's just great. 36 kind of like of Montreal, I would say, a little bit, and that's
those guys are cool.
music.
I was going to ask what they sound like.
Yeah, and that's kind of 36's vibe, like that kind of quirky, interesting melodies and lots of layered vocals.
Yeah.
And then Laura Hickley's more like of the Kate Bush or Tori Amos kind of piano and synths and this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful voice.
I dig me some Tori Amos.
Yeah. So it's cool. And I've been really happy to work with them, and they're young, and they came through Kirk's and played a lot, and I was kind of trying to look for new bands, young bands to release on the record label. And then, we've been working for this. It's come out about 2 years, but it comes out October 7th. And it'll be available everywhere. We actually just got distribution through Alliance and Amp Distribution.
If someone wanted to pick it up, where would be the best place to check out?
Well, this new one, to listen to 36 or Laura Hickley now, I'd say go to northpolerecords.com. Okay. You can listen to their latest singles. They're up right now. They just had a new single. Laura just had one come out last Friday called Love Outlive Me. Super creepy video. It's all these photographs like kind of nailed to trees and winter in Canada, kind of. It's pretty cool. I just saw the video for the first time a couple days ago when it came out. But I'm happy. It's a project we've worked a long time on. And I'm happy we got distribution for it, for the physical record, which is like international. So, that's cool. I've never really had that, so I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, that is cool. And so you also have a new song coming out from Miss Massive Snowflake. Is this previously unreleased, this song Candle?
Candle came out back in May. It was like May 27th, I think was the release date of Candle. And we had
still pretty recent.
Oh, yeah. Just a couple months ago. We played it at the last show a couple of weeks ago. But it's the 7-inch itself. It was funded by the Montana Arts Council. I just wrote a grant, and we were able to put out a single that they paid for. And
Hell
what
yeah.
it was, and it allowed, there's probably a lot of grants in Utah as well. Maybe not as many people like, California and New York where it's hard to get grants. In Montana, you apply for a grant here. A lot of times there's only like 50 to 75 people that are applying for that grant. So your chances of getting it are much higher. And a lot of times they're giving out 5 to 10 grants a year, and there's only like 50 to 75 people applying. I was really happy to get one.
How would you go about finding that out?
I went to for us here in Montana, you just go to the Montana Arts Council. Like I'm sure in Utah, it's part of the NEA. It's funded by the NEA, and especially during COVID, the U.S. government, through the NEA, National Endowment for the Arts, distributed, hundreds of millions of dollars to the states for artists.
Right.
And I, through the Montana Arts Council, I've gotten 2 grants through them in the last 2 years. I'd never applied for grants before. I didn't know anything about them. But during COVID, or, at the beginning, I just started reading about them, and then I looked them up and had some friends who had written them before and just kind of got coached through them. And I was like, I wonder if they'd pay for, this record. And they did. I just wrote, I'm going to do this, and we're going to give 150 away to Montanans. So pretty much if you come to Kirk's Grocery and you want our latest single, it's free. If you come to Kirk's Grocery, We'll give it to you for free. And otherwise, we've been selling it for $5 at shows. But it's cool because it's kind of like a recording project. Like your favorite band, it was made through the internet where we would record our parts different. And Ty and Andy and I, who are all part of Miss Massive Snowflake, recorded the song, and we sent it to Jeannie. And Jeannie was like, I don't know. It's not like, I think this song would be better this way. And she was kind of meaning to make a demo. And she sent us this version back that her and Keith, who have also played in the band, so 2 other members of the band, made a different version of the same song, kind of as a demo to be like, hey, you want to do it more like this? And I just love their demo so much. I just made it the B-side.
Word.
So it's kind of like 3 people from the band on one side with me, and 2 people on the other side from the same band without me playing my song. Like, it was just
cool.
Yeah, it was fun.
Inch.
It's on a 7-inch. Yeah, it's called Candle, and then there's the B-side's called Candle Blue version, just because the label's blue on that side. But the blue version is Jeannie's version, which she wrote, and she put a rap on it. It's pretty awesome. She actually,
that is cool.
Which there's no rap on the original. It's kind of like a shoegaze song, the one you're about to hear, and the way she did it, it's all like electronic with like a rap that's super great.
Oh, yeah. Well, if anybody wants to pick up that 7-inch, just make sure you pop in at Craig's Grocery.
Yeah.
And they're giving them out free, folks.
Yeah, come on up to Billings, get a free 7-inch. So you come all the way up to Billings to get a free 7-inch. I'll buy you a free footlong at Subway.
Oh, shit. All right. I am taking a road trip. I've been looking for an excuse to head that far up. Maybe go after some cutthroats up there.
Mm-hmm.
You said you do a little bit of fishing, don't you?
I do. I do like to fish. I like to fly fish. Is how I fish on rivers. Is how I grew up fly fishing, like small rivers, small streams.
I've still never fly fished, man. You'll have to show me what's up. Next time you come through Utah, we'll have to hit the Provo River or something.
I'd love to. Yeah, I love to do it. I mean, I can't say I'm the best fisherman, but
neither can
I. I always enjoy just the aspect of fishing and being in nature.
Yeah.
I don't get in nature enough, and it's a real way to immerse yourself completely in it.
I definitely agree. And when you're fishing, it gives you, I guess, something to do while you're out there.
Yeah.
Maybe bring home something to eat. I don't always fish to eat, but it definitely comes in handy a lot of times. I don't know how many times I've been like, I don't know what I'm eating for dinner tonight. And I come home with a big channel catfish, and I'm just like, this will fucking give me a couple of meals off this size of a fish. So, yeah.
Great.
In fact, if you could hear those crickets in the background tonight, those were originally purchased as fish bait. And I don't know, I've kind of grown attached to them. I sort of like the ambience of the little crickets chirping in the background. So I gave them some pieces of apple and some egg carton, because that's what crickets eat, is egg cartons.
Yummy.
Anyways,
yummy.
We're going to play this song, Candle, here from Miss Massive Snowflake. Thank you all for being with us tonight and joining us in our insanity.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, indeed. And if you can dig up some more dirt on a little more history.
So I'm gonna get married in about a month, and then I'm gonna go to Puerto Rico, and then I'm gonna come back. I got a pretty easy end of the year. I'm gonna go to the library. I'm gonna find the dirt on the old Chinatown here in Billings, Montana, and what happened in 1913, which we actually got a date on the murder in the building.
Yeah.
But I'm going to try to find out about the double axe murder.
I want to know more about that too. And like people being fed to pigs. I mean, that definitely implies that more murder has gone down. You know what I mean?
Oh, it's a railroad Wild West town for sure. It still is. I mean,
So before we go, you want to drop any links or anything else you want to promote, plug, or mention?
Yeah, pretty much everything we talked about tonight, you can go to northpolerecords.com, which right now we're working on that website. So it actually doesn't give you everything until you go to the catalog part, or northpolerecords.bandcamp.com. Right now we're in the middle. By October, when the new Laura Hickley comes out, we're going to have the website up and running. But if you go tomorrow, maybe go to northpolerecords.bandcamp.com. MissMassiveSnowflake.com, always for our music. There's even more if you ever want to go to ShaneDeLeon.bandcamp.com. There's like 60 releases now going back to 1989 or so. I've kind of always cataloged my music since Bandcamp came up. I kind of went through all my official releases, and it's like, a lot of them are singles and EPs and stuff, but tons of recording projects, bands like, I can't even say them on air. Let's just move on.
We just talked about Nard Barf. I mean, come on.
No.
All right, that's Shane DeLeon on Bandcamp. Also, Miss Massive Snowflake. And North Pole Records. There we go.
Yeah.
Thank you once again, Miss Massive Snowflake. It's been a pleasure. KWJUDAS, Free Radio Provo.
Free Radio Provo.
There's lightning in your head, and there's fire in your heart. The sky goes out, and the sky goes out.
Kid. Oh, wow! It's Derpinsley guy. Oh, I know. Psst. Hey, kid. Do you want a puppy? Oh, yeah, I do. Boy, do I ever. Would you take good care of it? Yes. Nurture it? Yes. Suckle it? Yes. Knit it an embarrassing sweater in the wintertime? Ever thought of the puppy puddles? The what? Puppy puddles, you nardless nincompoop. Puppies pee on carpet too, you know. Oh, I thought I was the only one. Oh, me and Judith over here. Yep. He might be housebroken before me. Well, fear no more, chum. Try Derpinsley's new patented puppy puddle jumpers. Guaranteed to overwalk any puddle of dog urine in the house. And if your patented puppy puddle jumpers are defective, oh, fear not, comrade. You never had a puppy anyway. Wait, what? Sorry, kid. You don't get a puppy. Oh. Patented puppy puddle jumpers, brought to you by Derpinsley. And remember, if it doesn't say Derpin, it's not Derpinsley. We'd like to thank you for joining us on yet another exciting episode of KWJUDAS on Free Radio Provo. We now return you back to our regular Free Radio programming.